be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Please welcome the American University Gospel Choir.
When the saints, oh Lord, I want. Oh, when the saints, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints, oh Lord, I want.
Saints marching in.
Now, to perform the heroic fanfare, please welcome the official fanfare ensemble to the President of the United States. The United States Army Herald Trumpets under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Derek Shaw. Please welcome the Choral Art Society of Washington, D.C., under the direction of Scott Tucker.
go left or right? Away from the camera. Just
It's okay, we'll just keep it open for now and I'll close it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the invocation by Father Matt Malone.
Let us pray. We meet not in a moment of mourning, but in an hour for hope. For this memorial is not only our remembrance of things past, but the touchstone of our present and a rite of dedication to our future. we gather here in this sacred place, where the memory of all our fallen heroes propels our hearts toward the highest aspirations of the nation, to proclaim to our fellow citizens and to the world, Bobby Kennedy still lives in millions of hearts that seek a newer world, in millions of minds that dream things that never were and ask why not, in every ripple of hope. Yet we make this proclamation not only through mere human words or earthly gestures, but in this spirit of prayer, that privileged place in every soul where the grace of God transforms our wounded hearts into hearts of wounded healers, where sorrow is charged with meaning, where human weakness is redeemed and hope reborn. And so we pray that the God Bobby Kennedy served so well will send his Spirit upon this morning to guide our feet in the ways of peace, that his grace will open our eyes to new vistas of human daring, open our hearts to the most vulnerable among us, open our hands to embrace the cause of justice. For above all, Bobby Kennedy still lives, because the one in whose name we make this prayer, the one who was the source and summit of his life, the one who was crucified and yet rose triumphant, he still lives. Thus faith, hope, and love will never die. Amen.
On behalf of my mother, Ethel Kennedy, and our very large family, I want to thank the staff at Arlington Cemetery for being so kind and accommodating and flexible. I want to thank President Clinton, who graces us with his presence. Thank you so very much. My family and I also thank those who devoted their time and talent to making this service possible, and to each of you for sharing in this commemoration. It is tough to lose a parent. It was very painful to lose my father. And yet a half a century later, each of you have come here, many traveling from as far away as Italy, Ireland, and Australia. You share our deep sense of loss and our happy memories. Your presence is deeply moving and a tribute to the love that my father inspired. Thank you for remembering. There is much to recall. His room was next to mine. Every morning, he listened to Shakespeare while doing push-ups. I woke to grunts and Shakespeare. In fact, he was so good at Shakespeare that he challenged Richard Burton to a Shakespeare reciting contest. And of course, my father won. One of his favorite plays was Henry V. This is the story of a king who enjoyed a dissolute youth, but once crowned, led the English against a much larger force at the Battle of Agincourt on St. Crispin's Day. The night before the battle, the English are ragged, disheartened, and thinking themselves doomed to defeat. King Harry encourages the troops. He says, "And Crispin, Crispin, shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, while any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day." After President Kennedy died, our father often recited the St. Crispin's Day speech among his friends and with us children as we walked the grounds of Hickory Hill or in the woods nearby. As he recited this, he was thinking of the 1,000 days of the Kennedy administration, what had been accomplished, and the people with whom he had served. Today, as we come together, we are carrying on that legacy: devotion to justice, dedication to freedom, love for our fellow women and men. Though these are worthy goals, they are not easily achieved. There is always a fight, not just on St. Crispin's Day, but each hour, each day. The odds are often long. What the play inspires is that each one of us can do what our father so admired about Harry. Harry thawed cold fear. He provided hope, encouragement, a belief that what we do is urgent and noble. Harry sees his soldiers not as troops to command, but as brothers, friends, and countrymen. I would add sisters. The point remains, difficulties do not stymie us. We are happy knowing that as we seek a newer world, we are bound to one another. We can make our own pledge to be a touch of Harry in the night. With courage, we can gentle our condition as we pursue a feeling of justice and compassion for those who suffer in our country and around the world. Thank you for lightening our burden and lifting our hearts.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dolores Huerta, President and founder of the Dolores Huerta Foundation.
We must recognize the full human equality of all of our people before God, before the law, and in the councils of government. We must do this not because it is economically advantageous, although it is, not because the laws of God command it, although they do, not because people in other lands wish it so. We must do it for the simple and fundamental reason that it is the right thing to do. University of Cape Town, June the 6th, 1966.
Please welcome Grace Martinez Rosa.
All of us, from the wealthiest to the young children that I have seen in this country, bloated by starvation, we all share one precious possession, and that is the name American. It is not easy to know what that means, but in part, to be an American means to have been an outcast and a stranger, to have come to the exile's country, and to know that he who denies the exile and the outcast and the stranger still among us also denies America.
Please welcome the former Prime Minister of Italy, the Honorable Matteo Renzi.
Too much and for too long, we seem to have surrendered personal excellence and community values in the mere accumulation of material things. That gross national product counts air pollution and cigarette advertising, and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage. It counts special locks for our doors and the jails for the people who break them. It counts the destruction of the redwood and the loss of our natural wonder in the chaotic sprawl. It counts napalm and counts nuclear warheads and armored cars for the police to fight the riots in our cities. It counts Whitman's rifle and Speck's knife and the television programs which glorify violence in order to sell toys to our children. Yet, the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play. It does not include the beauty of our poetry, of the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, or the integrity of our public officials. It measures neither our wit nor our courage, neither our wisdom nor our learning, neither our compassion nor our devotion to our country. It measures everything, in short, except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about America, except why we are proud that we are Americans. If this is true here at home, so it's true elsewhere in the world. University of Kansas, March 18, 1968.
Our next speaker, Peter Edelman, served as an aide to Robert F. Kennedy from 1964 to 1968 and is currently a professor of law at the Georgetown Law Center.
We must, if we seek not merely to lead, but to lead greatly, act consistently with our belief in human freedom and equality. Those are the seminal values of our entire history. There should be no doubt that we stand in Africa or Asia or Latin America and in the United States itself on the side of equality and increasing freedom, never yielding that position to the demands of temporary expediency or short-run realism. For if we allow immediate considerations, one by one, to chip away proclaimed ideals and values, then we soon stand for nothing at all except ourselves. Columbus Day dinner, New York City, October 11th, 1966.
Please welcome the Republic of Ireland's Ambassador to the United States, His Excellency Daniel Mulhall.
The whole human experiment will fail unless it can find unity and mediate its disputes, unless it can follow the paths of economic growth and cooperation, unless, above all, it can realize the equality and brotherhood of man. These are not cliches for anybody. They are the bare essentials of survival for us all. And on this small, vulnerable, infinitely interdependent planet, all of us are seeking solutions. Under the spur of potential plenty, as under the shadow of potential destruction, we are one. Our triumphs and defeats are common. The bell tolls for us all. Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, 1966.
Please welcome the Executive Director of the Color of Change, Rashad Robinson.
Your generation, South and North, white and black, is the first with the chance to not only remedy the mistakes which all of us have made in the past, but to transcend them. Your generation, this generation, cannot afford to waste its substance and its hope in the struggles of the past, for beyond these walls is a world to be helped and improved and made safe for the welfare of mankind. 1966, University of Mississippi.
Our next speaker served as the Secretary of the Navy from 2009 to 2017. Please welcome former Secretary of the Navy, Ray Mabus.
America was a great force in the world with immense prestige long before we became a great military power. That power has come to us, and we cannot renounce it. But neither can we afford to forget that the real constructive force in the world comes not from bombs, but from imaginative ideas, warm sympathies, and a generous spirit. These are qualities that cannot be manufactured by a public relations specialist. They are the natural qualities of a people pursuing decency and human dignity in its own undertakings, without arrogance or hostility or delusions of superiority toward others. A people whose ideals for others are firmly rooted in the realities of the society we have built for ourselves. University of Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, April 24th, 1968.
Please welcome the internationally acclaimed Irish tenor, Mark Forrest.
Raise you up on eagle's wings, to shine like the sun and hold you in the palm of his hand. And you dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust. Yes, he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wing your refuge, his faithfulness your shield. Yes, he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. You need not fear the terrors of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day. Though thousands fall about you, near you it shall not come. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, and bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And for to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands he will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Yes, he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun. He will hold you in the palm of his hand. He will hold you. He will hold you in the palm of his hand.
From the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps, please welcome Bianca Fonseca.
Idealism, high aspirations, and deep convictions are not compatible with the most practical and efficient of programs, that there is no basic inconsistency between ideals and realistic possibilities, no separation between the deepest desires of heart and of mind and of the rational application of human effort to human problems. It is not realistic or hard-headed to solve problems and take action, unguided by the ultimate moral aims and values. In my judgment, it is thoughtless folly, for it ignores the realities of human faith and of passion and of belief, forces ultimately more powerful than all the calculations of our economics or of our generals.
Please welcome the Honorable Nancy Pelosi.
I come to ask you to help in the task of national reconciliation, to place your energies and your time and your strength in the first work of America, the building of a nation united not on every issue, but in the enduring faith that we are to be free, that we are to have the chance for a decent life, that the natural condition of humanity is not degradation, but dignity. This is the faith that binds us together as Americans. It is this faith that shaped this nation. It is this faith that shall preserve us. From it, we will find the best within ourselves and the best within our fellow citizens. And we shall win, at the end of our labors, a new America. Tuscaloosa, March 21st, 1968.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome civil rights icon, Congressman John Lewis.
And even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart until, in our own despair, against our will comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred, but love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black. Let us dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savanness of man and make gentle the life of this world. In Indianapolis, 1968, during the announcement of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.,
From the American Federation of Teachers, please welcome Randy Weingarten.
Our choice is not whether change will come, but whether we can guide that change in the service of our ideals and toward a social order shaped to the needs of all our people. In the long run, we can master change not through force of fear, but only through the free work of an understanding mind, through an openness to new knowledge and fresh outlooks, which can only strengthen the most fragile and most powerful of human gifts, the gift of reason. University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, South Africa, June 8th, 1966.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next speaker, Emma Gonzales, representing the student movement March for Our Lives, 2018 recipients of the RFK Human Rights Award.
First is the danger of futility, the belief there is nothing one man or one woman can do against the enormous array of this world's ills, against misery and ignorance, injustice and violence. Yet many of the world's great movements of thought and action have flowed from the work of a single man. A young monk began the Protestant Reformation, a young general extended an empire from Macedonia to the borders of the earth, and a young woman reclaimed the territory of France. It was a young Italian explorer who discovered the New World, and a 32-year-old Thomas Jefferson who proclaimed that all men are created equal. "Give me a place to stand," said Archimedes, "and I will move the world." These men moved the world, and so can we all. University of Cape Town, South Africa, June 6, 1966.
Please welcome Congressman Fred Upton.
UC Berkeley, October 22nd, 1966. The future does not belong to those that are content with today, apathetic toward common problems and their fellow man alike, timid and fearful in the face of new ideas and bold projects. Rather, it will belong to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage in a personal commitment to the ideology and great enterprises of American society. It will belong to those who see that wisdom can only emerge from the clash of contending views, the passionate expression of deep and hostile beliefs. Plato said, "A life without criticism is not worth living." This is the seminal spirit of American democracy. It is the spirit which can be found among many of you. It is this which is the hope of our nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome country music legend Kenny Chesney.
Thank you. This song was written by Woody Guthrie. And it's a promise of everything that is good that our country has to offer all of us. And in the last year, I've gotten to know Ethel, and I've gotten to know several of Bobby and Ethel's children and their children's children. I've gotten to know their spirit, their personality, and in their heart. And that being said, I believe in my heart of hearts that Bobby Kennedy carried the promise of this song in his heart till the day he died. Well, I was riding that ribbon of highway. I saw a bird in the skyway. I saw below me a golden valley. This land's made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of the diamond desert. And all around me, a voice was sounding. This land's made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is mine. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land's made for you and me. I was strolling in the wheat fields waiting, the dust clouds rolling, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Joe Kennedy III.
Empathy for those struggling and striving. Indignation that the wealthiest country on earth would leave children hungry, sick, abandoned, and alone. Compassion for the least among us. Faith that our nation, that our world are capable of better. Countless words have been used to remember my grandfather. Poetry has been written about the work he did and the life he lived. But for a man who loved language, it's the images that tell his story best. The caress of a child's face in a shotgun house in the Mississippi Delta. His hand on the shoulder of a coal miner in eastern Kentucky. A small piece of bread shared with Cesar Chavez in the dusty fields of Delano. Images of a father, a son, a brother, a husband, an uncle. Of a family home adorned to this day with photos of loved ones, graduations, weddings, silly moments, grandkids, great-grandkids, his brood ever growing, his love ever enduring. Of his extraordinary wife and partner, who 50 years after his passing still wears her wedding ring. Of a family who strives every day to make him proud. Those images accumulate here today. Of Dolores Huerta, his kindred Chicana spirit. Of John Lewis, a brother and mentor. Of Emma Gonzales and our army of young activists, such fearless stewards of a future my grandfather imagined and summoned us to. For Robert F. Kennedy, this was the measure of a life well lived. People, a human connection, the touch, the look, the moment between strangers, friends, where we leave aside expectation and ego and acknowledge each other's worth and wisdom, where we pause and see each other. When we look past color or creed or class and recognize a humanity we all share, our imperfections, our contradictions, our hope for something, for a truer, kinder tomorrow. That humanity anchored my grandfather. It carried him from the fields of farm workers to the hollows of Appalachia, from the sprawling reservations of Indian country to the tenements of Bed-Stuy, where in the shadows, in the background, in the quiet spaces that rarely sought or got attention, Robert Kennedy found the arteries of our American heart. And he said to those forgotten, your country sees you. Your country values you. America would not be America without you. He held their hands. He knelt by their side. He shared their sorrows. And he lifted their spirits. He wasn't radical or revolutionary. He was human and willing to be vulnerable. It was his greatest gift to give. He felt so intensely the suffering of others, and from that pain arose the moral force to relieve it. He saw their dreams and dared to ask, why not? Today, we also remember a father who delighted in the laughter of his children, long walks with his dogs, football with his family, the smile of his wife. We celebrate a leader who saw potential in every child and fought for a government that did the same. We recommit ourselves to his higher calling, the very thing at stake today of a country who accepts you for who you are. "25 years ago, in this very place, a family friend stood and recalled the journey of my grandfather. Then, just 6 months into his term, President Bill Clinton eloquently recalled a man who, quote, went places most leaders never visit, listened to people most leaders never hear, and spoke a simple truth most leaders never speak. Most of all, President Clinton implored us to remember, quote, the powerful, beautiful, the simple faith of Robert Kennedy. We can do better. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce him once more here today. Please join me in welcoming President William Jefferson Clinton.
And what he means today. In 1968, after a couple of tumultuous years leading up to it, every day seemed to bring a new piece of bad news. And a deepening division in America. It was my last semester in college here at Georgetown. Somebody said, what did you do at the end of your college career? Well, Martin Luther King got killed on April the 4th. Just a few days before that, President Johnson said he wouldn't run again. The country was so divided over Vietnam, and everybody feared the whole thrust of the civil rights movement could be lost. As John Lewis proved again, the best remarks given after Dr. King was killed, I believe, were embodied in Robert Kennedy's finest speech in Indianapolis. We rocked along through 2 months of turmoil, and then he won in California in the primary. I still remember the vote. Do you? Lost Oregon by a little bit, and then won in California 45-42, and God forgive me for being incorrect, but I was so glad they had winner-take-all primaries back then. Why am I saying this when we're all being so lofty? Because he was a flesh and blood man who fought in real life. Because in this time when we seem to think our clan and tribe are more important than anything else and require us to be divided from one another, he came, as you see here, from quite a clan. And he did every single thing he could to increase it. And as you have heard, the Kennedy clan was clearly an Irish tribe. And those of us who share that heritage are proud of it. What was the difference? The difference was that he embodied the whole message of the faith of his fathers and mothers. Before His Holiness Pope Francis called us to engage in a culture of encounter, he viscerally, instinctively lived a life of encounter. The life of the outstretched hand, not the clenched fist. He lived it in Appalachia and the Mississippi Delta, in Watts and Bed-Stuy, on Native American reservations, among farm workers who had no one else to look after them, and all the way to the townships of South Africa, still groaning under apartheid. Did he ever once give up his clan or his tribe? No. He said, what has that got to do with whether we can live together? What has that got to do with whether we have to acknowledge that our common humanity is even more important than our interesting differences? And he did something unusual for a politician back then when you couldn't check every word every day. He actually said the same thing everywhere he went. He would go into a working class neighborhood and tell them exactly the same thing he would say in a poor neighborhood of African Americans. He would stand in a synagogue and say the same thing he would say at a Knights of Columbus meeting. And if we had had a large Muslim population back then, he would have gone to them and said, you too can be part of America if you share our values and our vision. The Native Americans, literally the National Congress of American Indians, 90 tribes, for his work with them, gave him a tribal name, Braveheart. His Braveheart took him to California to be with Cesar Chavez, to make a 200-mile trip across Appalachia to see the shacks where parents struggle to feed their children, to visit the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, in the middle of the Indiana primary race, to enrage the apartheid government in South Africa by plunging into the crowds in Soweto and shaking hands. He encountered people and challenged all of us to do the same. His message really, no matter how dressed up in the finest poetry, never changed. We can do better. And because we can, we must. He gave it over and over and over. And while the words were beautiful, look at the films, if you weren't alive then, that are coming up now. The energy was awesome. And the intensity of conviction burned away like a blowtorch. All those layers of complacency and comfort. Show up, stand up, we can do better. And he didn't let anybody off the hook. He said, yeah, I want to help you, but you got to work hard. And all you comfortable middle-class people, you don't have a lot of money to give away. You need to do something to serve your community and work your community. And all of you people who are rich like me, we don't need this much. You need to give more so we can grow together and prosper together. And oh, by the way, we'll all be better off. But you should do it, as you heard, because it's the right thing to do. There's something for everybody to do. "50 years later, he would say, I'm 92 now, and you have to listen to me from a distance. I still try to speak to the young. We stood up for Emma. You know why I love that? Because she and her generation are the first people who have made sensible, sane gun safety laws a voting issue in this country. And I was president. We passed the assault weapons ban and the ammunition limit, and we did all that. Wait. We did it all, but we couldn't make it a voting issue, and we got our brains beat out. When she and her colleagues said, we do not deserve to die in school. Schools need not be a killing ground. Bobby Kennedy would say, hey, nobody's trying to take away your right to hunt, to sport shoot, to defend your family. But we should take away the option to commit mass murder with killing machines without an adequate background check, for sure. That's what she did. That's the kind of thing he did viscerally. I never saw anything like it. At our 50th reunion, I was trying to determine what to say, and I kept thinking about Bobby Kennedy because when he died early on the morning of June the 6th, one of my roommates was volunteering in his office. Tommy Kaplan's here with me today, and we stayed up to watch him win, and then he's on my bed beating on me. They shot him. And all I could think about was that in his campaign, Robert Kennedy said, "'Tis not too late to seek a newer world." He loved Tennyson's Ulysses. And it was perfect. It was like, hey, I'm a 42-year-old cool guy, and young people can relate to me, and we're going to do great things. We can make America again. Again. But for all of you who were there then, you get to join the young people today. Because go back and read Ulysses. It is a poem of an old man saying, you can't quit. And there is still something good you can do. Your age is a state of mind. Your commitment must never waver. And we have got to stop hating each other. It's bad for us. And that includes, and by the way, that includes the members of our clans and our tribes. The outstretched hand beats the clenched fist. So I ask you, as he would, if he were 92 standing here, thank you very much for showing up and saying all the nice things and reciting my words. But it all amounted to me saying we can do better. And because we can, we must. So let us resolve to do better. In Ulysses, when he said it was not too late to seek a newer world, Ulysses is calling his old gang together and say, what do you say we get on the ship one more time and sail beyond the western scars until we died? Just one more time, we can still do it. Some work of noble note may yet be done. Though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will. Here's Robert Kennedy in a line: to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. We thank him after 50 years because we can still feel the energy in the parades reaching across the convertible tops, in the shacks of Appalachia, in the depths of Watts, and yes, all the way to Soweto. We can do it all over again. But we have to do it the way he did, speaking to everybody, saying the same thing to everybody, with a heart full of love and an outstretched hand. His legacy has brought us here and will see us on. God bless you.
Representing the RFK Fellows, please welcome B.J. Stiles.
Few men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of their colleagues, or the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. and yet it is the one essential vital quality for those who seek to change the world, which yields most painfully to change. Aristotle tells us at the Olympic Games it is not the finest or the strongest men who are crowned, but those who enter the list. So too, in the life of the honorable and the good, it is they who act rightly who win the prize. I believe that in this generation, those with courage to enter the conflict will find themselves with companions in every corner of the world. The Day of Affirmation Address, University of Cape Town, June 6, 1966.
From Tivity Health, please welcome CEO Donato Tramuto.
Through the history of the world, the boundaries of great empires have faded and dissolved their cities. Their cities have fallen into decay and their wealth scattered. What remains is what they accomplish of enduring value and what they stood for. What remains is the contribution they made to the unity and knowledge and understanding of man. What remains is what they added to the hopes and the well-being of human civilization and to its capacity for future progress. None of us here, as individuals, seek success or wealth purely for its own sake. We all hope to make a larger contribution to our families, our occupation, our profession, our community, and our country. This must be true also for America as a nation if we wish to take that luminous and lasting place in history which is now within our own grasp. The goals of American foreign policy, Columbus Day dinner, New York City, October 11th, 1966.
Please welcome the CEO of Patagonia, Rose Marcario.
We live today in an era of challenge. This is a time of uncertainty and peril. It's also a time of great opportunity. The decisions we make as a people, as a government during the next few years will affect the planet for generations to come. I come to ask you not only for your understanding of these challenges, but for your active partnership in efforts to meet them. For the government is your government. It requires your ideas, your collaboration, your criticism, and your support if it's to meet its responsibilities. All of us are most concerned about what type of America we want to pass on to our children. Every generation inherits a world it never made, and as it does so, it automatically becomes the trustee of that world for those who come after. In due course, each generation makes its own accounting to its children. Columbia, South Carolina, 1963.
From the International Indigenous Youth Council 2018 recipients of the RFK Human Rights Award. Please welcome Lauren Howland.
My name is Lauren Howland. I come from the Hickory Apache Reservation in Dulce, New Mexico, the Dene Nation in New Mexico, and the San Carlos Apache Nation of Arizona. I am part of the International Indigenous Youth Council. Our answer is the world's only hope. It is to rely on youth. The cruelties and obstacles of this swiftly changing planet will not yield to the obsolete dogmas and worn-out slogans. It cannot be moved by those who cling to a present which is already dying, who prefer the illusion of security to the excitement and danger which comes with even the most peaceful progress. This world demands the qualities of youth, not a time of life, but a state of mind, a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite for adventure over the life of ease. It is a revolutionary world that we all live in. And thus, as I have said, in Latin America and Asia and in Europe and in my own country, the United States, it is the young people who must take the lead. University of Cape Town, June 6, 1966.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Edward Markey.
It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. University of Cape Town in South Africa, June 6, 1966, 52 years ago today.
Please welcome back to the stage the Choral Arts Society of Washington.
Francesca.
Sir, can you move?
Unfold like flowers before thee, turning toward the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the doubt of dark away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the doubt of dark away. Fill us with the light of day. Stone and hill, thy sound resounding, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, blooming meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Field and forest, vale and mountain,
in this sacred place with these special memories of someone very special to us all. We are indeed in the presence of God. So we pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for the vision, the compassion, the commitment to justice that brings us together to commemorate one who challenges us to our very best, Robert Francis Kennedy. We share in the magnanimity of his vision, the inspiration of his words, and the generosity of his actions. May we be the source of the energy, creativity, generosity, and love in the pursuit of the ideals that he worked so hard to bring our nation and world together. May we share his compassion for the poor, the needy, the oppressed, the forgotten. May we share his ability to bring women and men together, breaking down barriers that divide us and build instead what unites us. May we work to heal those who are wounded, to bring hope to the hopeless, and to live our dreams for a better nation and a better world. In a special way, bless the Kennedy family, from Ethel, ever at Bobby's side, to the youngest children, as they keep alive Robert's vision, faith, courage, and service to others. As we go forth from here, bless us all with the power to unite and to stir hope in our time. We ask all of this in confidence that you are with us, making possible what we cannot do ourselves. Amen.
Please welcome the American University Gospel Choir under the direction of Celeste Sledge.